Well, after 3 highly problematic episodes, it seems the show has finally gotten on track. Iron Fist, Season 1, Episode 4, A Dragon Diagram Palm, and as usual, I really was not looking forward to this episode, just because the show has not really impressed me. As you guys know, I've been very sporadic with it. I've really only reviewed not even just once a week, like twice, like once every 2 weeks. I just really have not been that into this show, until this episode. Honestly, I genuinely really enjoyed this episode. There was a lot of interesting stuff going on in this one. We finally seem to get some backstory with Danny. We get some really nice scenes between him and Joy. And yeah, this episode was filler, but it honestly is kind of the best for it, because this episode was kind of just a break from all the ridiculous shit that's been going on in the show, which I was definitely happy about. Now, this wasn't a perfect episode, but this genuinely was good. I enjoyed this episode for the most part. I can't believe it. It was only a matter of time, and hopefully from here the show actually does start to get good. So let's just get into this episode, because I definitely do want to talk about it. Now, this episode does not start off to a great start. I will definitely say that. We start off with falling from Harold's penthouse. Danny managed to catch a lamp dozens of stories above the street. He loses his grip, he falls onto a ledge below, and he's knocked unconscious, and that might be the shortest cold opening I've ever seen. I mean, literally, it was like 2 seconds, then we just cut to the opening titles. It was really weird, but the next morning, Danny wakes up. He finds himself in an expensive apartment, and Ward comes in and asks why Danny followed him. He admits that he kicked Danny off the building, and Harold walks in, and Danny stares at the man that he thought was dead, and Danny points out that he hasn't aged since the last time he saw him. Remember, the last time Danny saw him, he thought it was like a drug-induced vision or whatever, but Harold admits that he visited Danny in the hospital, and staring at the older man, Danny says that Harold is all he has, and they hug, and Harold explains that he was diagnosed with cancer, and some people somehow approached him with a cure. He had to die first, and the people who saved him apparently are called the Hands. So that's the connection that Harold actually has to the Hands, that the Hand is the group that saved him, which I like that we explained that here. So Harold admits that the Hand has infested Danny, and Danny explains that he was trained to fight the Hand if they appeared in Kunlun, and he mentions that the Iron Fist, and Harold asks if that's how Danny escaped the mental hospital, and the man asks Danny to help him defeat the Hand, and explains that only Kyle and Ward know that he's alive, and Danny agrees to help Harold to make sure that nothing bad happens to Joy, and Harold tells him to embrace his destiny, and when Danny says that he's busy litigating to get back into Rand Enterprises, Harold orders Ward to drop all litigation against Danny and give him everything he's owed as the rightful heir. So yeah, like I said, a lot of the charges and things like that kind of take a back seat, because as you can tell, Harold wants to get away from that. He clearly wants to use Danny to his own advantage. We know it probably is to take out Madame Gao or whatever sort of war is coming. But basically, they demand that they purchase a pier, and Harold tells Danny to talk to Joyce, and she engineered the purchase. And Danny and Harold then hug. Danny says they need a fighter like Danny back in the family. And Danny and Ward then take the elevator down. Ward tells Danny to watch out for Harold because he's not a replacement for Wendell. The only person Harold really cares about is Harold. And yeah, I mean, that might be the most honest and smartest thing that Ward said. That's true. Harold really only cares about himself. He doesn't really care about Ward. Ward's going in his own direction. That's my main thing with this episode, is that Ward, they still don't really know what they really want to do with him. He still doesn't, they're still, I think, really trying to figure out how to use this character. But this was definitely a much more promising opening than some of the other ones we've had, that's for sure. Now, on the other side of things, we do see Colleen, who, believe it or not, is not the best thing about this episode. You would think, oh, Colleen was the best thing. She was great, don't get me wrong, but there were other really good things going on. At the dojo, we see Daryl shows the other students of Colleen fighting in the ring. Colleen takes the phone from Daryl, she looks at the video and reminds them about the rules concerning cell phones in the dojo. And as they line up for their exercise, Daryl apologizes to Colleen, points out that they never get to see her go all out. She admits that she's a hypocrite, but Daryl says that what she did is awesome, and he posted online so that she'll get more students, which makes sense, obviously. We know that she doesn't really have many students, that she's very dedicated to her work, and she insists it was just a one-time mistake and assures Daryl that he'll get his scholarship, which, again, I really like this plot, that she's trying to help Daryl, get this money that he can have, and by doing this, she's trying to pay off his student loans and things like that. So Ward tells Joy that they're dropping litigation against Danny, but admits he doesn't know what Danny will do there, and he points out that Joy is the one who gave Hogarth the ball, proving proving Danny's identity. And just as Danny comes in wearing a suit, Joy and Ward then hold a press conference welcoming Danny to the company. Danny describes how he got back to home, and one reporter, Jennifer Mary, asked him if he was recently committed. And after Danny says that he needed help adapting, the reporters paper him with more questions. Ward quickly escorts Danny out. I don't know why now he decided to drop these litigation charges. I mean, it seems like you probably should have done this 2 episodes ago, but Danny has to go through the peer deal that Joy put through. She tells them to check with Megan. Megan says she can squeeze him in after 3 days, and Hogarth comes in, has Danny sign the papers confirming his position. They go to his father's old office, and Danny looks at the monster stickers that he put under the desk. She wonders how Danny put the deal together, and Danny says that he had to raise the dead, and Hogarth admits that Danny doesn't actually hold a position at Rand Enterprises, but his voice will still be heard because he's a 51% shareholder, and she assures Danny he can gain access to the company's financial records and advises him to ease into things. And before she goes, she tells him not to foul up the opportunity that he has. You know, you've now given this opportunity to turn things around, don't butcher it. And I thought that was good advice. So Ward is then holding a pricing strategy meeting. When Danny barges in, he excuses himself for making noise. He sits down next to Joy, and as Ward continues, Joy tells Danny what the meeting's about. They figure that they can sell for a huge markup to finance the company's research, and Danny asks how many people die from the disease. He points that they can save lives at $5 a pill, but they're raising the price, and Danny suggests that they should sell at cost, and Joy tells him it's normal business. One man explains that who will purchase the drug and subside the cost, but Danny insists that no one should make a profit off the misery of others. And Ward asks him if he's drawing a line in the sand on his first day, and Danny says yes, and the other board members object, but Ward says they'll do it and go to market at cost. And honestly, if I was Ward, I'd just listen to Danny because this is Rand Enterprises. You know, this is kind of his company. So Joy tells Danny that her schedule is cleared up. She can talk about the peer deal. And at the dojo, Colleen turns on hip-hop music. She exercises with a sparring post. She finally smashes off a post, realizes that she's actually losing her control, and she then looks at the video, which again, I really like that scene. So Harold's looking at photos of Danny and at the press conference, and he calls Ward, and Ward takes a pill, answers the call, and his father congratulates him on handling Danny's reintroduction to the world. He tells him to control Jennifer, and Ward says it'll handle it, and Harold points out the drug pricing screw up, and Ward says that Joy is keeping Danny busy, and it won't happen again. So once Harold hangs up, Ward has Megan call Jennifer in, tells him he'll answer all of her questions tonight in his office, and then we get some really great scenes between Joy and Danny. And yes, this was Joy kind of just handling Danny, trying to distract him, but they were really well done. Joy's been that one person that has believed Danny from the beginning, and she's been very back and forth, and finally she gets this chance to really open up to him and really find out more than she wanted to know. And I thought there was definitely, their scenes, in my opinion, were definitely the highlight of this episode. I really actually like their scenes together. So Joy takes Danny walking on the street. She asks him about the monks that he studied with. Danny wonders why she sent Hogarth the bowl, and Joy says that his showing brought up a lot of old feelings, and she explains that it made her think about all the people that she lost. And Danny tells her that Harold cared for her and would have been proud of her. Remember, Danny has to go with the idea that Harold is dead and that he's gone. You know, she doesn't know that Harold's obviously left. So that's like the one thing going on here, but Colleen goes to the fight ring. She offers to fight 2 fights for double pay. The ringmaster agrees, sets up 2 fighters for her, Duke and Jimmy Pierce, and the fight begins. She takes down Duke, who falls on her. Jimmy pulls her clear, attacks her, dislocating her hand. She breaks his arm, and she soon takes him down, screaming in fury, which, again, that was definitely really cool. So back at Danny's hotel suite, Joy tells Danny that Rand told her to buy the pier, and she doesn't really know why. So Danny talks about how when he first arrived the position, he set his mind on a certain important position, even though he thought he was an outsider, and he explains that he fought for it, but never realized what it would actually mean to his life. And he doesn't know yet if it was worth it. And he talks about his life and training at Come One, and when he failed when he was beaten. And as Danny makes drinks, there's a knock at the door. Joy answers it and screams. Danny runs over, and 8 Asian men are then dragging Joy away. 2 of them attack Danny. He easily takes them down while 4 more draw hatchets. They come at Danny and he takes them down. Probably the best action scene we've seen her, honestly. I actually did like this action scene. I didn't think it was terrible, believe it or not. But the last 2 Triad men get Joy into the elevator. One of them hits her in the face. One man swings a hatchet at Danny when he blocks the door. Danny summons the Iron Fist to shatter the blaze that hits his hand. He enters the elevator. The doors close, and when the elevator reaches the lobby, the 2 Triad members say they're going back to the Golden Sands and run. And Danny tells Joy that he knows where they're going and refuses to call the police. So Ward tells Jennifer about how Danny messed up a drug pricing deal using his shareholder control to have them sell the drug at cost, and Jennifer prepares to go. Ward offers her a drink, she turns him down and then leaves, and Colleen's then lying on the floor of the dojo, looking at her blood-covered hands. She hears someone outside, and Danny and Joy run up to the door. Colleen lets them in. He asks Colleen to keep an eye on Joy and asks her about the Golden Sands, and she figures that the Triad runs the place and gives Danny their address, and he walks out. So he goes to the Golden Sands and asked to speak to the heads of the Triads. And honestly, I know I've said that Danny is, kind of just very overly proud of him being the Iron Fist, things like that, but this scene, I honestly felt that intimidating, heroic nature. I thought he actually did a really good job here. I don't know if Finn Jones just was more into it, but this scene, I really believed it. He goes to the head of the Triads, and an older man, Yang Hai Quine, comes in with the injured men from the hotel, and Danny introduces himself, and Yang says that Rand Enterprises stole the pier from them. They had a deal with the previous tenant, and Joy broke the deal, so they tried to bring her in, and Danny figures that they were kidnapping Joy to broker a new deal, and tells him it's not in their best interest to come near Joy again. So Yang wonders why Rand wants the pier to itself, and Danny says the hand forced Rand to purchase it. The Triad head quickly apologizes, leaves refusing to answer Danny's questions about the hand. Obviously he has a lot, but they're just not answering it right now. So Harold's taking a bag in his penthouse. Madame Gao and her men come in. They drop a hood on the floor. Gao tells Harold to put it on. He does so, and Gao says they're going for a ride, and at the dojo, Colleen is then giving Joy some basic fighting tips, which I like this scene. Joy tells her that Danny was a good kid, and just as Danny comes in, he says the Triads won't be a problem anymore. He offers to fix Colleen's hand, and she agrees, and he literally snaps it back into place, which that was really cool the way he did that, but he figures that she's fighting for cash, and tells Colleen that he's still willing to pay her rent for her help, and she refuses, but thanks him. I like that she refused to it. She wants to do it on her own, and Joy says she wants to know what went on. Danny misses he does as well. And again, I really did get that heroic nature from Danny. I thought that was definitely a well done scene. And I was surprised by how much I was enjoying this, but I honestly did enjoy this scene. I'm not going to lie. So the hand then removes Harold's hood, and Gao says that he has been their good and faithful servant. They open the curtains, revealing Joy across the street in her townhouse, alive and well, and it's the first time Harold has seen her since she was a child. He notices the bruise on her cheek. Gao says that her new bodyguard protected her, and Harold asks for one more favor, and I'm assuming that he's going to reveal himself to Joy, and we'll get into that in a second. Literally, the next scene, later the hand operatives enter the Gold Sands. They ask which one hit Joy. One Triad member takes responsibility. A hooded hand operative cuts through his sword and kills him. The hand operatives then go back to their SUV. The killer removes his hood to reveal that it's Harold. He tells the others that he's ready to go home, and yeah, so Harold definitely, he has some sort of connection to hand, as we know. Definitely, they're the ones who gave him this pill, and I think he's going to try to reveal himself to Joy and I guess get her back on his side. I don't really know. But the next day, Ward receives Jennifer's article about how Danny's putting purpose over profit, and he smiles that it finally seems that Danny is getting his shit together. But Danny performs a kata in his suite. There's a knock at the door, but when he looks through the peephole, there's no one there. So he opens the door, he finds a ceramic bowl on the floor, and inside there's a note from Yang that says that the bowl contains the answer that Danny seeks. There's a piece of paper with a dragon-like design, the same one as the one on Danny's chest, when Danny basically realizes that, hey, finally I might be able to get the answers, and that is the way this episode ends. Honestly, really good stuff, and let's just get this episode and where I think it's going to go from here. So, like I said, guys, I was a bit more positive with this episode, and not because everything interesting, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on, because, yeah, this episode was definitely more of a relaxed, chill type episode, for Danny and Joy to finally, relent to each other and confess things. I definitely like seeing that, but what I like the most is that this definitely, to me, felt like the most focused, definitely. I mean, it had a really nice plot here with Danny. They dropped the litigation charges, so luckily that whole storyline, at least for now, seems to be over, which I'm glad. I mean, it's really just irritated me how much Joy was going back and forth. It seems like now they are going to be loyal to Danny, even though Harold has some other kind of intent, and you don't exactly know what that is. But I like the scene where Danny did try to appeal to, he did try to go to the Golden Swords and make sure they weren't really a problem anymore. It seems that he thinks everything's good there. But Harold definitely has some other sort of intent. I think he's going to try to open up Joy on what's going on. So we'll have to see really where that's going to go. I think that whole thing is definitely very interesting. And the other big question is the hand. As we know, Harold claims they helped him, get this pill to, kill cancer or whatever. But is that all they did? I feel like there's definitely more to it than that, and I'm interested in seeing really where that's going to go. I think that definitely is very interesting. And Colleen, I like that Colleen, she's getting just a bit too powerful, and she needs to try to lessen that aggression in her. I think it's a good storyline for her overall, and I like the way she is. She refused to help out Danny. Again, she doesn't want any part of this. She wants to do what she wants to do, and I'm hoping that we stay that. I want Colleen to stay confined because, again, she does have the most interesting stuff going on, and I like where we went with her in this episode. Really good stuff there. I thought that was definitely very well done. But the other question is Ward. Ward, I think, just made a really dumb decision to follow Harold. I mean, I think he knows deep down that Harold really is not looking for his best interest. He's really only doing what he wants. And even though he says the line to Danny, he still decides to ally with his father. I just don't really get it. I don't understand what Ward is really trying to do. That's the main thing here. I don't know where we're going with Ward. I have no idea what they want to do with this character. It seems that they really just don't know what to do with him, so they're just kind of giving him whatever shit they have, in their minds. They're just kind of giving to Ward. But I'm just not really into this character right now. They need to really figure out what they want to do with this character, and then you can give him some good stuff, because right now I'm just not really loving what I'm seeing from that particular plot. Apart from that, though, guys, this was actually a really good episode. I was surprised by how much I did enjoy this one, but it seems that we've now finally got away from the whole identity stuff, which I just thought was really crippling the show. Way too much with that. Hopefully Danny does start to get some answers about about the bowl and everything, and about what happened in Kunlun and all that kind of stuff, because he doesn't have any answers, and I like that he is getting answers there. Madame Gao, is definitely going to come to Danny at some point, and there's going to be some sort of a connection there, so we'll have to see the way that all goes down. But overall, guys, surprisingly, I really did enjoy this episode. I am going to give Iron Fist Season 1, Episode 4, a Diagram Dragon Palm, a 3.5 out of 5, or a B. So overall, guys, maybe this episode of Iron Fist. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Loved your thoughts. Like I said, I definitely really did enjoy this episode. Hopefully, moving forward, the episodes do get progressively better from here. And I heard that's the case. It does get better as it goes on. And already, I think it is getting better. I know Claire Temple's coming in the next one, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm going to try to be a little bit more on point with these reviews. I know, like I said, I've been very sporadic. I just have been kind of unmotivated. But after this episode, maybe I'll watch a couple more. Maybe I'll watch another one today. We'll have to see. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another Own It, Never Falking Seen It. I know it's been a little while since I've done one of those, but I figured I might as well do one, so I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.